Hello, Ben here, and welcome to episode 25 of Benjy's Cafe podcast. Yes, episode 25, a quarter of a century already. How great is that? Thank you all so much for listening, and hopefully it puts a little smile on your face. Joining me in Benjy's Cafe this week is the actor and photographer Mark Willshire. Most recently, Mark appeared in the musical Waitress at the Adelphi Theatre, London, with Sarah Bareilles and Gavin Creel. He was also in The Bodyguard in London and Toronto, played Joe in Dolly Parton's 9 to 5, and starred as Ash Turner in the Take That musical Never Forget. In 2013, Mark's passion for photography led to the launch of Mark Willshire Photography, and his work now takes him all over the UK and globally too. In this episode, we discuss Mark's theatre career, including his roles in the musicals Waitress and Bodyguard, his passion for photography, and the importance of empathy, hard work, and believing in yourself. Plus, how a morning walk can be so beneficial to mental health.
I go and walk around my park, and that can be... I always try and do an hour and a half. It's great, and it's, you know, the mental benefits of that as well, to be able to just go out and just either focus on one thing and think through things, and sometimes just having that environment about you of like the openness really helps, because if you are struggling mentally and you've got all these things that you're having to think about and you're in a house, sometimes it can feel quite claustrophobic. So to get out and have the open air is it does wonders. It starts my day.
The world of photography is lucky to have him. Mark is one good egg. Welcome to Benjy's Cafe podcast, Mark Willshire. Hi, Mark. Good evening. How are you?
Hello. Yeah, I'm good. I've finally, I know, like I've sat and watched, 24 episodes of this podcast now and heard the famous introductions, and now I've had I was excited to hear what was going to be said. Everything was covered.
Yeah, nice little milestone for the podcast. And honestly, Mark, it's a pleasure to have you in Benjy's Cafe podcast for this episode. It's so good to see you. We worked together in 2005, but just want to say that for somebody so young at that point, you were early in your career, Mark, but you were so kind and caring for other people, not just in the cast, but within the company as well, the crew, wardrobe, everybody. You showed so much empathy for people. And I really spotted that as a lovely quality in somebody so young. Do you think that was installed in you, that lovely quality from your parents as a youngster?
Subconsciously, it must have been instilled into me. But yeah, like, you know, grew up, I'm a Blackpool lad, and, you know, my parents and my family were all very sort of outgoing and friendly and stuff and everything. And, you know, I remember like having done stuff as a kid in like Oliver at the Palladium, and I did like the kids' ghost stories, Goosebumps. There was a huge production of it that came over from the States and did a summer season in Blackpool. And so I'd done all this stuff, and then it was things like doing the school show and whatever. And, you know, I remember like teachers asking me and saying, can you do it? Can you do this? Can you sing a song in it? And I was like, don't really, you know. But my mum, I can remember I was on the way to one of my dancing classes, and I told my mum, and she was like, well, don't think you're too big for it. Don't think you're too big for the school show, you know. And it's that kind of thing of going, keep yourself grounded. Like, you know, my mum still tries to keep me grounded now when I go off on a tangent. But yeah, I think just that. Look, I don't know what it is, but something in me just clicked and went, you know, respect your departments, because, you know, we're respecting everyone around you to go, you know, I always thought that, yes, we are the front of the show, but we're not the whole reason why the show is the show, you know. And I've always enjoyed, like, and it's, you know what, like, it's great to hear you and know that that's a part of your memory, because I'm still the same now. Like, even in my last job in Waitress, like, I always used to go and visit the wardrobe department and say, hey guys, how you doing? And it wasn't like, you know, I wasn't wanting something. I wasn't like, hello for a couple of minutes and then going, oh, so by the way, can you adjust my my trousers that I've got for this night out? We're going to... I generally wanted to go in and see how they were doing, and I'd talk about things that they were doing. I was quite lucky in my early career. I went from job to job to job, like, without even really taking a break. And I was so lucky. And I don't think I ever took it for granted, because I always had friends around me that I trained with, or maybe I'd done jobs with, who also struggled. And that put the frighteners in me, because I was like, well, hang on, they're super talented. Well, so like, from an early age, I clocked that, yes, you might be a talented person, but it doesn't give you the right to have a job and work.
It's cool. What I love though, Mark, is that you recognise the hard work of other departments, of other people who, you know, are the spine of a production just as much as the performing cast. And, you know, you went out of your way because you don't know what those people are going through. They have a hard schedule too, let alone what might be happening in their personal life. Mark, you mentioned Goosebumps. You mentioned earlier in the chat being an Oliver in London. Was that, would you say those earlier shows as a youngster in professional theatre, did that spark your interest, or would it be a school production? And I'm just really interested at that age, was there any resistance to your career path from family or from school?
Not really, no. My family were always encouraging, like, I mean, the reason why I started any of my lessons or started to do my very first sort of show at the local dance school as a kid was because I used to sit outside the bathroom when my dad would have his shower and he'd be playing the Beatles whilst he was in the shower. And I'd sit outside and sing to it. And my family all knew that I'd, like, I say dance then, it wasn't any, you know, there wasn't anything to it, but like they were aware that I was quite sort of outgoing and my auntie sort of proposed to my mum. She said, you know, the dance school that my daughter goes to is they're looking for boys and they're doing a show. And that was like a 6-month period of, like, you know, you did one rehearsal every Saturday and then eventually built up to a week show. And it just got to the end of that show and I went, I want to do lessons. And then I actually did not long after that, when I was about 10. And then obviously, like, then doing stuff like Oliver was probably one of the best experiences of my childhood. You know, I went away to look the Big Smoke, Big London, you know, weeks at a time. To me, it wasn't like, it's the West End, because I didn't know it as the West End. It was where showbiz was and where shows were. So to do that, and then it was just an incredible experience as a kid, like, unbelievable. You know, when you see these, like, old, like, American movies, it's like coming of age and everything. It's like the kids and stuff. And my favourite movie of all time, Stand By Me. Like, those years and that time of doing the Oliver was like my real life Stand By Me. I mean, we didn't go around swearing and smoking or anything like that, but I think I did get told off by one of the chaperones for buying a Loaded magazine on that news cart that used to be outside the Palladium. Russ Abbott was the main sort of Fagin for a longer time of my run there. So then a couple of years down the line, it would have been maybe, do you know what? I did the National Youth Music Theatre, Bugsy Malone, actually, in the West End, which again was incredible experience. Met some, you know, great kids. But then it came Goosebumps and the auditions for it. And I did my first audition in Blackpool, got a recall, went to London for my recall, and I went into my recall and they said, it's going to be a no from us, but thank you so much, it's been great. And Russ Abbott was in the auditions because he was playing, like, the main, like, narrator, if you will. Yeah. And I think he may, I didn't know at the time, but he may have been producing it or involved money-wise somehow, possibly. I might be wrong, I don't know. But he was in the auditions and he said, and he told me this story, like, when we got into rehearsal period. When I'd gone out the room, he was like, I think you should bring him in again. He said, because I remember working with this boy in Oliver and how great he was. Always working hard on stage, like, amazing, enthusiastic, bring him back in again. And I got the job. And that was my first taste. I didn't know it then, because it's happened to me since as an adult professional, but that's my first taste of going, sometimes you just get the job for some other reason and it's nothing to do with your talent. You know, it's because someone's giving you another chance. Or, like in my case, for a couple of my jobs I've got, I would say maybe 3 of them, I've got the job because someone else has turned it down. Yeah, of course. You know, so, like, people will tell you that you're talented and everything, but sometimes you just get a job for whatever reason. And the reason for the Goosebumps one was because Russ Abbott had stood in my corner and gone, pick this boy, you know. Yeah, but how great, Mark, that he remembered your work ethic even at that age, and it just goes to show, doesn't it? If you work hard, if you're nice and friendly, I think whatever walk of life you're in, it's going to help, and people do remember that. Yeah, absolutely. I think, I don't know how to not work hard, you know, and it's understanding that balance when you get to become an adult that, you know, I think sometimes people put pressure on themselves to be like flat out. And sometimes your 100% isn't the same as another day. That's not mean to say you go, I can't be bothered. You're giving everything you can for that day. And that's what I will always do in my show. I completely agree, Mark, and it's always been heightened and confirmed in my career when I have been out of work, and my goodness, there's been some low, quiet periods when acting was, you know, my main target in life.
and it's when you get back into a show and you really appreciate it. And, each time that happens, it just confirms that how lucky we are to be up there. But, it is a tough business, and those periods between jobs are tricky to navigate, aren't they? Did you find that? Because I've had some terrible lows where I've had some great gigs. You just think you're going to go from one to another. But when that stops, and it's happened to me, where I have seriously crashed and had to pull on, the strength, the core of my personality to get through that. Have you ever had moments like that?
I'm currently in it now. So like I said to you, like in my early career, I was really, really lucky to literally go job to job to job. And like, it was like, I'm finishing one job knowing that I'm starting my next job in like 3 or 4 weeks or a month down the line or whatever. And, I had periods where I maybe was out of work for like 2 months or 3 months. And then sort of like, like I say, as I did the job in Never Forget, that was like my first lead. It was my big break. So then you start, and that's all I ever wanted, was to play leads and big parts in shows. So that's what you start to want. So you get a little bit choosier. So my time out got a little bit more. It was a year or a year and a half or 6 months. But currently now I'm experiencing 4.5 years out of work, which is tough. Yeah. The one thing I've always kind of told myself is I have to keep believing in myself. There's no way that I can look back at what I've done and say, you've just lost that. All your talent's gone. Anything that you could do is just gone. So you're never going to be in this industry again. I've just gone, I will work again.
Yeah.
Whether that's, in 6 months' time from now or a year's time from now, like I will work again because I know what I can do and I know what I've done. And again, it's just that believe in yourself. Yeah. It's just like this period now this is testing my resolve.
Your attitude is wonderful. Keep that attitude, because look at your CV, look at your biography, and it will happen. Like you say, if you're not getting a job, it could be for a number of reasons. But if you keep that core drive and keep yourself and be honest to yourself, it's going to happen. And then it'll be even sweeter, won't it? Because you've
absolutely.
You're surviving the dips, yet you've stayed true to yourself. And that is so admirable. I really admire that.
It's actually been, in a way, like my experience now, like using it to help others. Because with my photography, I shoot a lot of students or graduates and stuff like that, or people who've been out for a few years. And literally the other day I was speaking to a girl who was panicking because she'd not managed to get a job for 6 months. And I was like, breathe. I was like, you're going to get there. Like I've seen videos of this person dancing, because in this day and age, everyone's posting the stuff up from the classes that they do at like Pineapple or Base or whatever. Yeah. And I've seen her, and I've heard like from her teachers who I know have gone, this girl's like super talented, like incredible. And I've just said to her, I was like, just keep believing in your talent. And they were like, oh, it's just really tough. I've not been through this. And I was like, I'm telling you this from experience. I've been out of work for nearly 4.5 years now. And I'm telling you, like, you're okay. Keep your head down and don't beat yourself up too much. Just keep believing in yourself.
Yeah. But I love the fact, that you are helping people. That again is another beautiful quality, Mark. You know what? For me, some of my happier experiences have been just working. And I've never been too proud just to keep working. Like, I'm interested to know, did you find that you were brilliant in Never Forget? That was, a big part for you. The responsibility of that. How challenging was that? And then also, what was your ethos, wanting to work, then, going into shows like The Bodyguard, where you're covering and the work ethic involved there. It's tough, isn't it? But firstly, just start with Never Forget and the excitement of getting that part and what a buzz that was.
Well, first of all, like I said earlier on about like listening to my dad out in the shower, like singing to the Beatles. My next experience of music was Take That, which was because my sister was the next person to get her own sort of personal hi-fi system or whatever, like a one that used to be in a lounge, but now is a smaller version in my sister's room and stuff, and she used to play and Take That. When at their first hype, like, when it was like Could It Be Magic and, all the others, that controversial video with the jelly and the bums out, all that sort of stuff. Yeah. Like, so I grew up on Take That. So this was such a good thing because I desperately wanted to be in a boy band when I was younger. Like my career plan for when I was at college was like, so I'm going to graduate, I did 2 years in the West End, and then I'm going to go into a boy band. I lapped it up because that was everything that I wanted, was to be.
You'd worked hard
in a show. Yeah, leading the show and getting something that I wanted so bad. So when that responsibility came along, I don't know. Maybe it's weird. I don't know if I'd approach it differently now as I'm older, because I think just at the time of being so young in my mid-20s was like, I was just like, yeah, give it to me. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't any minute of where I was going, okay, I've got to shoulder the responsibility of the whole show on me. Like that just never entered my mind.
You're like fearless, aren't you, at that
dreams.
age? Yeah.
So it was everything that I wanted. And you know what's really funny is, this sounds like something out of, Stars in Their Eyes or whatever, but when I actually got the call to say, because I did 9 auditions for Never Forget, and literally at the end of the audition, the director had said to me, like, so just a little note for next time when you come in, and I'm going, I didn't even hear the note that he gave me, because in my head I was going, next time, another one. And at this point, 4 or 5 auditions before, I'd basically been told by the director, we want you. So I went through those. But on the way home from that audition, I got the call on the train. Like just as I was pulling to my station, got into my car that was parked by the station, went to start it. It didn't start, the battery had gone, but there was enough juice in it for some reason to turn the radio on. Turned the radio on, and I swear, no joke, today this could be. And I was like, what? Yeah, I was like, take that popping on. Yeah, so that was tonight, Matthew, I'm going to be.
It's a great show, and you must.
You know what?
So
listen, the
great music.
Plot was a typical jukebox musical, a little bit wafer thin, but what a time you had like doing it. It was great. I loved it, and to sing the songs and take that I'd grown up on was brilliant for me. Absolutely loved it. I was in the ensemble and covered Richard Fleishman in Ghost, which was what a job. Did I ideally want to do it because I was like, well, I've played parts now. Do I want to be in the ensemble? And I took it reluctantly, I'll be honest, but what a job that turned out to be. Amazing cast. We had such a good time together, and what a beautiful show. I remember, do you remember us sat in the Wardrobe Village on our last day in Mamma Mia, and everyone was just crying? Like, it was like 5 minutes to go for the show. We're all just there like,
we got so close, hadn't we?
No, as you sort of go through your jobs, like, it doesn't necessarily get any easier, and you don't necessarily get any like less sad unless you've had a bad time in the job. But if you've had a good time, like, you will get sad on that last show and you will cry, but you feel like you do get better at it. I think I remember on my very last show of Our House, I like skated on stage as a priest. That was in the opening number, and I was literally like singing Our House at the same time as bawling my eyes out. And you think that as you mature and you get more experience that you're going to get better. And Ghost was really good for me, because I was gutted the day that last show for us. And I was, I remember sitting backstage, and some of the scoring in that show was beautiful. And I'm thinking, I've lasted the whole show. Like, if I cry on the bows now, that's fine. That's fine. All right. But it happened before, because I was sat there and this beautiful music's like clinking away, like, and Darren Carnell, who I think, have you worked with Darren Carnell?
No, I've auditioned for him. Yeah,
Darren Carnell was our dance captain. Yeah, really, really, really great guy. Lovely, beautiful guy, and brilliant dance captain as well.
How talented.
I was sat there and I was just having a moment of myself of going, right, gather yourself and try not to cry not because I was trying to be manly, I don't care about that, like, but Darren just put his hand on my back and rubbed, and it was like someone had knocked the tap, off, and I was just went, oh. Yeah, I went on to 9 to 5 then, which was great, because it was a little, pushing back to playing parts and stuff. The time between jobs started to get a lot more then, because I'd had my taste back at being parts again with 9 to 5. And I also did, before that, Coronation Street, the musical. That was an experience. We did 2 shows at the Manchester Evening News.
It was an arena show, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was supposed to be. We did 2 shows at the MA, and we were supposed to go to Dublin the next week. And they just postponed the show, and that was it. We never heard. They didn't cancel it. They postponed it, and we never heard anything since. So after 9 to 5, I was like, well, I'm playing parts again, and I'm, I really enjoyed getting that buzz from coming off a scene and going, oh, I randomly, instinctively tried something different today, and I really enjoyed that kind of thing, So trying to turn down auditions and stuff, like, because I was like, I really want to head back into parts again. Yeah. It makes it a lot tougher, because your options narrowed down. But the Bodyguard came up, and it was quite a good one in a way, because I covered like 6, 7, 8 parts or something in it. I was an offstage cover, so it was quite nice. Got a lot of PS4 in, if I wasn't on, and then, but you know, it was quite good because the parts and stuff that I got to do were great. You know, I covered the Bodyguard. I wasn't first cover or second cover because I think I was just that little bit too young at the time.
Right.
But I did manage to do 2 shows at the Dominion Theatre, which was great. But yeah, I covered a lot of parts in it, and that was, you know, listen, you can always take something from every job that you do, whether you like it or not, whether it's like, you know, below your station or whatever. There's always something you can take from jobs. So, you know, I took a lot of experience, and then that experience I was able to take him to Waitress with me because I was a swing on that. I don't want to ever swing again.
I was going to say, what is that feeling when you wake up in the morning? I would be so anxious, I think, knowing that I've got to have all these parts, all these tracks and plots under my belt, yet you don't know sometimes until mid-show what you're going to be doing. How did you navigate that? I
had always a lot of respect for swings anyway, you know, because we should. Yeah. But doing the job as a swing as well, like the respect's just risen even more. Like I had a lot of respect for swings, but having done it myself now, like you just have even more respect for them. So with Waitress, the dancing never bothered me because it wasn't anything too challenging in terms of like any other shows that I'd done, but it was more, if you saw the show, about the props. Right. Because if you mess up one prop at the beginning of the number, like depending on what prop that is, it can have a knock-on effect. You're 5 minutes down the road at the end of the number, and there's people still going because you've messed something up at the beginning. So it was terrifying in that respect. I think one of the boys' tracks, or 2 of the boys' tracks, you had to push a sofa on stage at one point. And the very first time I went on for one of my tracks, I'd never done it before. I'd done it in my head. I've gone, okay, so you push it on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 2, 3, 4, 4. I've never been so terrified and nervous about going on stage. It was just to push a sofa. It was an experience. And again, to take that away, like take so much away from it in terms of learning. I'm not going to swing again because I don't want to do it. It's too much work. And it's not coming from a lazy point of view, but I want to focus on one thing. And, but yeah, ultimate respect for swings. Any swings watching this now, I've been there, I've done it, and I've got so much respect for you because it's so hard. And if there's anyone watching that doesn't have respect for swings, you better get it now. There were times when we had to go on for girls, like, and with Waitress, it was very complicated in terms of, it wasn't just like, okay, you're going to be girl 3 throughout the whole show today. Yeah. It was like you start off as girl 1 in the opening number. Halfway through the opening number, you switch to girl 3, but then at the end, you switch to girl 2 for the finish. You then start the segue between the next number as girl 1, and it was like that through the whole show, like chop, 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 chop. So it wasn't as easy as copy and pasting and going, okay, girl, you know, let's go through the journey of girl 3 in my mind from start, blah, blah, blah. You can't do that. And that was the terrifying thing for me. Getting the boys' tracks down, there was only 3, luckily. It wasn't a massive learning in that sort of sense. Once I'd done the boys' tracks a few times, I was okay. But the terrifying thing of, like you say, is waking up. Like, if you get people at work doing that, you're like, oh, sowing the seeds, you're going to be off tomorrow, which means we're going to be down, which means I'm probably going to have to go on and there's a girls' track. And then you go into bed going, oh my God.
So immediately that's a trigger, isn't it? You're just thinking, you know, ahead of the game. And I couldn't do it. Huge kudos to you, Mark. My goodness.
It was unbelievable experience. And also, like, the parts I got to cover in Waitress were great. Like, my favourite one of the 2, which I don't think would be a surprise to anyone that knows me, was the husband in it. Because what I loved about it was like, and you this is how you'll probably remember me, but most people remember me as this, like, hi guys, how's it doing? Hey, positive, da-da-da-da. So to play this husband that was vile and manipulating and stuff, like, to be something completely against what everyone knows me as, was brilliant. You know, one of the best compliments I got was my mum and dad came to see the show, and my mum saw me backstage after, and she was like, I didn't like him. And she was like, I couldn't see you. Yeah. I went, what do you mean? Well, your seat's not good. And she was like, no, usually when I come and see you in shows, she's like, I can see my son. Yeah. But she went, I watched that and I could not see you. Now, I know she was going, to that, but that to me, I read that as like, I could have got a compliment off Matthew Waitress or you know, other directors that I worked with it, but I don't know, for some reason that one just rang the best from my mum. You know, and I always love to hear their opinion, but to hear my mum go, I didn't know, I couldn't see you. Just that put a little bit of a buzz in me. And then my agent at the time coming and seeing me and going, wow, gosh, you know, I always knew, I always had belief in your acting and I always knew you were a great actor, but it was like, I didn't know you could do that. You know, so to surprise them as well and surprise a lot of people by playing that part, I just loved it. It was so much fun. And to get to do it with...
Do you think you surprised yourself as well, Mark, having not played a part like that? That must have been a nice buzz for you.
Yeah, I think it was. I mean, I don't know. I think looking back, I go, yeah, I did, because it was great to play that part. But then at the time, it was just me going, okay, I can do this. Let's go. Let's do it. Yeah. Let's listen to a bit of the direction that I'm getting, and let's just go for this full on. And you know, I don't know, a little bit like playing football, just head down, not looking around, going smack the ball, see if it goes in, kind of thing. You know what I mean? But to get to do it, at one point, I think I was the person who, the character was called Earl, and I think I'd played Earl with the most Jenners at one point. Wow. I think that's different now, because I think the guy who did it in tour when it shut down, did it in town when it shut down and then went on to do the tour. I think he ended up doing it with like 1, 2, 3 more than me. But at one point, I'd done it with the most Jenners, like, you know, and I got to do it with Kat McPhee, and I got to do it with Lucy Jones. Salute to Lucy, love you, Lucy. Yeah. You know, and I got to do it with Sarah Bareilles. Like,
wow.
Dude, so many great actresses, which was such good fun. And I'm that kind of person as well. It's like, you'll have worked with people like this. You will get people who doesn't matter who's on, they will do the same performance every night. Yeah. You know, like, and I always relished it, like doing Never Forget. I did it with Amy Atkinson, but the 2 girls who covered the part, I loved it when they went on. I wasn't one of those performers like, oh, the cover's on, because I was like, great, like, what's going to be different tonight? Like, what's going to keep me on my toes? What's going to make me actually, you know, react like differently?
Well, it keeps it fresh and keeps it real, doesn't it? So it must have been lovely to, you know, to have that from the leading ladies in Waitress, and then it buoys you, doesn't it? And you're kind of creating your own little interpretation together, which is fresh, and that's got to be good for the show and for the other actor. Yeah,
but I really did love it.
What I'm really interested in, Mark, as well, you creating a wonderful reputation with your photography. Had that always been a passion for you between jobs?
I think it was back in 2010 when I was doing Ghost. I met a friend on an advert, and she'd started doing headshots and stuff, and she said to me, oh, you know, would you mind coming and helping me out by just sitting in to get some headshots done? I'm learning and I want to practice on stuff. And at that time, like, that was a journey from one side of London to the other side of London for me. And I was like, yeah, I'll do that for you. It's fine. So I travelled across London. I helped her out. And just on the day, I was like asking loads of questions. And she was like, you seem quite interested. Yeah. And so I said, yeah. And she was like, do you want to go? So I took a few pictures, and literally, as soon as I finished that session with her, I walked to work and I passed the Jessops on the Strand and I bought my first camera. And it just sort of took off from there. Like, when I first got it, I was like, right, I've got a good piece of equipment in my hand. I don't want to just stick it on auto and let the camera do all the work. I want to try and understand what I'm doing with it. And it's been a long journey to get to where I am now, but I'm grateful that I wasn't letting the camera do the work, you know. And I've done stuff like, I've read books, I've watched YouTube videos, I've now got photographer friends who aren't anything to do with the industry. I've met them as from my reputation in parts of the photography industry, and met them and become good friends with them now. You know, my wedding photographer, I became friends with him on Instagram, and we chatted, and he was like, you know, oh, I do wedding photography. And I was like, oh, well, I'm looking to do it. So he became a wedding photographer, and then we've now actually become friends.
Amazing.
So I learned along the way, and like, it's been a long road, but I'm proud of what I've done. So I still enjoy doing my headshots and all the fashiony stuff and everything. But you'll know that I've not taken a pivot completely, because I still want to do the headshots and fashion stuff. But I wanted to I was like, well, I feel like I need something else that could potentially bring me money in from the photography side. Yeah. And at that point, I was following quite a few sports photographers who shot like high-end sports people, you know, your Flintoffs, your Sergio Agueros, your Mo Salahs and all that stuff. And I was like, I really love their work. Maybe I could do something like that. You know, so I'd had chats with them and everything and tried to learn new techniques to shoot that sort of stuff. And I was like, this could be something that an extra bit on the side that I could make money from, still doing the same skills and incorporating that love of sport into it as well, you know. So yeah, I've tried to build my way through that by approaching people. Listen, I'm of the mindset of don't ask, don't get.
I think it's great that you just think, well, it's almost like what's the worst can happen if somebody says no or I don't get a reply. I'm pushing my product, I'm pushing my skill, and I think that's another quality.
I'm still waiting for Zendaya to message me back, but I don't think she's seen my message yet. But yeah, so like, you know, I then kind of realised that I maybe aimed a little bit too high with the top sort of WSL stars. So it's taken me a long time to build up the portfolio that I've got.
It's getting your name in the hat, isn't it? And that perseverance, you know, it's so needed. And, you know, it just goes to show that if you keep chipping away, you're going to get results. And that's
chess moves, I call it.
Yeah,
my best
very
friend.
much
Like
so.
sometimes just making those little tiny moves that, whilst that move might not necessarily be anything, it might just suddenly get the gaze of someone else that sees it and stuff and everything. And the funny thing is it's getting those right eyes on it. So you've got to do a lot of work to eventually get the right eyes on it, because, you know, I can shoot my sports portraits with, you know, Dave Smith, who plays for the local team on the sports field near us, and it's a great shot. It's a brilliant shot, and no one will notice it. But I could do a shot that's like only half as good as that, but you've got a sports star in it, like someone that everyone knows, and then all of a sudden they go, "Wow, look at that work!" And it's fighting your way to get to that position to get the right eyes on you, and it's just it's one thing that I've said, and I always say is, I think a lot of us who are listening and watching today, there's a meme, like a cartoon meme, and it's got a picture of, you know, you see the sky, you see a tree, you see the grass, and then it starts to show the layers of the earth beneath, and you've got two guys digging across the screen. It's a still, it's not like a video cartoon, and they're both digging for treasure, and there's a treasure at the other side that they're heading towards, and they're both at the same point. One guy's still digging and the other guy's walking away, and it's implying that he's, you know, the guy that's still digging is like literally digs away from finding this treasure that'll change his life, kind of thing. But the other guy's given up at the same point. And that is something that is like imprinted into my mind's eye of going, you just don't know, just keep going. You just don't know when it might be that you might be on that last dig. And that's something that terrifies me. It's proper FOMO of going, if I drop that pickaxe and that shovel now, like, I could literally be there. And it's Mark, something that just drives me. But yeah, so I do all sorts, headshots, fitness, fashion.
Mark, you're looking so well, honestly. Do you have like a little fitness regime? Like I try to run. My knees are a bit shot, especially after playing Widow Twanky at Christmas in Blackpool. But I try to run to keep fit, to keep mentally positive. Do you have any little routines, little kind of, you know, day-to-day things that just kind of make you feel in a bit of a better place?
So one thing for me was like I've always been weirdly the opposite way around in terms of like when I'm in a job, I have a time schedule, I have structure. So yeah, I would always be that person that when I was in work, I'd go to the gym and I'd usually like lose a bit of weight, like tone up a little bit. And I've always struggled when I'm out of work to get some form of structure. But actually recently over the last couple of years, like I say, with it being 4.5 years like out of work for me, I did like for the first maybe, I don't know, year and a half, 2 years, like that classic thing that you do where you go, right, I need to be fit, like, and I'd do 5-6 HIIT workouts a week, like, and then you'd go, and then I'd have the Sunday off to rest. And I maintained that for like 3 weeks at a time, and then you'd get to the end of the third week and you'd be like, oh God, knackered. So you'd go, well, I'll have Sunday and Monday off. And then you get to Tuesday and you go, I need a little bit more rest, so I'll do it on Wednesday. And then you end up doing only 3 HIIT workouts a week. And then it sort of pitters out. And then, you know, before you know it, you've done a month of not doing any workouts. So then you go, well, I've got to do the same again. Now, what I'm doing at the moment is, which I've found has really, really worked for me, because it's sort of a little bit lower in terms of attack. But so I do 3 HIIT workouts a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I do a HIIT workout, and followed by like a body workout that I just do from my phone app, and it's, you know, like one day's arms workout, the other day's chest workout, the other day's back and shoulders. And then on my in-between days, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, I go and walk around my park. And that can be, I always try and do an hour and a half. But if there's days like today, I had a shoot, so I only did an hour. But it's still like you're burning 600 calories there, and you're getting 9,000 steps in.
Yeah, it's
if
great.
I'm doing the hour and a half every day, yeah, it's great. And it's, you know, the mental benefits of that as well, to be able to just go out and you know, just either focus on one thing and think through things. And sometimes just having that environment about you of like the openness really helps. Because if you are struggling mentally and you've got all these things that you're having to think about, and you're in a house, sometimes it can feel quite claustrophobic. So to get out and have the open air is it does wonders. You know, when you're getting your steps in, like, listen, as a 40-year-old man now, I don't feel like I need to be ripped to shreds. Do you know what I mean? I've never wanted to be ripped to shreds anyway, because I just think once you get there, for me, I don't want to spend the time maintaining it. Do you know what I mean?
But I love the fact that you've got those benefits from just a walk, an hour and a half's walk. You're getting the steps in, you know, you're burning some calories, but you're just free mentally. It gives you just space to breathe, doesn't it? And I'm all for that. Even a little 10, 15, we've said it so many times on the podcast. You can say hello to somebody, you can make their day. Somebody can say hello to you and give you a nice little boost. But just getting out there, it's lovely. And the great thing is it's free, isn't it? It's just free.
Yeah, absolutely. It starts my day. I get up, I sort of give myself, you know, an hour to sort of have a coffee, send a couple of emails out, do a little bit of admin. I go on my walk for an hour and a half. I come back, I have my breakfast, and then I get on with whatever tasks I need to do for the day. Anyone who's listening to this who knows me and has had some voice notes from me, I know a lot of people get annoyed with me. It's a struggle for me to send a voice note that's shorter than 2 minutes. I've got friends who I will send like 20-minute voice notes to. Now, I know a lot of people get annoyed by that, but it's just something I do. And also, in terms of anxiety, for me, the idea of typing, sometimes I know that I want to get from A to B with my text, but there's a lot to say. It's a lot to type. It's a lot to text. You're concentrating on when you're walking, because I tell you, I've fallen flat on my face a few times in the park when I've been trying to text. Luckily, I'm a performer and I don't get embarrassed, but I have had people laugh at me. But, you know, for me, just to voice note it instead of texting it, like, that's a little bit of anxiety kicked out of the way there.
Yeah.
It's the idea of going, okay, I've got, oh no, I spelled it wrong. Oh, now it's putting B instead of N. Like, you know, stupid thumbs, like that stress of it. I know it's not a big stress, but I'd rather just voice note.
Yeah, but
and
it's
then
just
little
things you're using to make yourself feel better.
But then they've gone, I'm out on a walk.
Well, it's helping you. The walking's helping you. Now you're helping your friends, which is wonderful. We're in Benjy's cafe. Unfortunately, it's just a virtual cafe, as you know. But I just wondered, after our little chat, what's on the dinner menu?
I've actually got, and I'm really enjoying this actually, but it's cauliflower and broccoli rice.
Oh.
So I have that, and I've got this vegan steak strips kind of thing,
nice.
Pre-cooked, ready to eat. So I add a bit of those into the cauliflower rice, and I've got this Korean barbecue seasoning. So excuse me, it's really low in calories, ridiculously low, and I've just really enjoying it. So I have that. It's low calorie. It helps me sort of stay on top of my weight as well as the exercising.
Yeah, it's so good.
And it's actually quite nice. It's got a little bit of a kick to it as well, which I love. I might actually have a Corona Zero tonight.
Oh, not
a few days. So I might have a Corona
You know
Zero,
what? They are good. The 0% beers now, really good. Corona Zero, ice cold is great. Guinness Zero, but yeah, good choice. Corona Zero. Thumbs up from me, Mr. Alcohol Free. I love it.
I don't have to have an actual drink. Like, I'm gonna have a. Sometimes I will go to the shop and I will purposefully go, I'm gonna buy a alcohol-free drink.
Yeah.
I like the idea of having a drink, but I don't need the alcohol, sort of thing.
Yeah. Mark,
they are good.
It has been so lovely to chat to you. I admire you for the way you're creating a second wonderful career. You're a great guy, and I'm just so grateful of you popping into Benjy's Cafe today, and I'm looking forward to my next walk. And you know what? I might send you a voice note. What the hell?
Go for it. Do it. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Ben.
Thanks for listening to Benjy's Cafe podcast with the wonderful Mark. Make sure you hit follow so every episode gets sent straight to your phone. And if you can, please leave a review. No booking required, available wherever you get your podcasts. I'm off for a few days of rest, so no episode next week, but don't worry, I'll be back recharged and refreshed like a human Duracell in Benjy's Cafe for the next episode on Tuesday, September the 10th. I can't wait. I'll get the kettle on. Take care of yourselves and have a great day.